Before we get into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth, let me tell you about the latest special from Mike Lindell at MyPillow. The standard MyPillow, normally $49.98 for a limited time only, just $14.88 with promo code Joey. Go to MyPillow.com, click on the radio listener specials, and see all the specials. There's a limited quantity of just 10 at this special price. That's $14.88 with promo code Joey. And one more thing, we know MyPillow products come with a 10-year warranty, but MyPillow has just announced that they're extending their 60-day money-back guarantee. That's right, orders placed between now and December 25th will have their 60-day money-back guarantee extended through March the 1st, 2025. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studio. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome into this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. We'll be joined by Danielle Stepp, whose family has been farming in western North Carolina since the 60s when her grandfather started the family farm, Stepp's Hillcrest Orchard, where you can pick your own apples among a lot of other fun things. We'll get an update on what effect Hurricane Helene has had on the apple orchards this fall. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette joins us with an update on South Carolina's county days and the resources available for people dealing with recovery from Hurricane Helene. And, of course, the 2024 election is just around the corner, and we'll visit with Nate Leupp with the 4th District Republican Club to talk about the GOP's Get Out the Vote effort and early voting. Our final guest is Parker Malphrus, a 19-year-old student at George Washington University, here from the upstate of South Carolina to talk about the youth vote and those like him who will be voting for the first time in a presidential election. Let's get started.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills. But I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
On our guest line today, Danielle Stepp with Stepp's Hillcrest Orchard, just a very well-known apple orchard, and they branched out into other things over the past years in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Danielle, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk a minute. Boy, you guys, you've just had some tough times in these recent few weeks after Hurricane Helene came through. Talk with us about how you're doing, how you're recovering, and what our listeners need to know about your hours of operation and how they get to you.
Yeah, so we're very thankful that our farm itself really only suffered minimal damage. But the road that we're located on, Pace Road, had significant damage and in both directions, which made it not impossible to get here, but not exactly safe to bring lots and lots of visitors onto the road. And so we have been closed since the storm hit, but we're going to be able to reopen tomorrow. They've been working on the roads this week, and it's now safe to get in off of 64 East. And right now that is the only way in, so folks would need to know that. But we're going to open back up tomorrow, our regular hours. We'll be open 7 days a week through November 10th, which is a little later than we normally stay open. We're going to stay open into November, and we'll be open 7 days a week through November 10th. So still 3 more weekends to come out and pick apples and do all the other fun stuff here at our farm, like the corn maze and apple cider donuts and wagon rides and all the things for kids as well.
Yeah. Talk with us, Danielle, if you would, about the history of your farm, because I've read about you guys on your website, and it's just a cool story, I think, because it's a family-owned farm, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I'm third generation here on our farm, so my grandparents, Son and Yvonne Stepp, started doing pick-your-own apples here in the late 1960s, so we have been doing what is termed agritourism now and pick-your-own since the 1960s, and my mom and dad are still here on the farm, my husband and I now, and our kids. And we say harvesting family memories for generations, so it's not just generations of our family, but it's generations of our customers that have been coming here for generations with kids and grandkids.
Right, yeah. My grandparents farmed as well in the upstate of South Carolina, and farming is not an easy thing to do, and it makes it even tougher when you have things like hurricanes come through the area.
That is right. I have always said farming isn't an easy life, but it's a good life, and I'm going to hold to that, even though this year I think is the most challenging that I've seen in my lifetime. a lot of the things we do on the farm now help us to kind of mitigate a little bit against the risk of crop loss. Even if we have a lighter apple crop than normal, we still have other things that folks can do. They can pick a pumpkin, they can pick flowers, they can do these other activities. But we have never foreseen a situation where we just literally had to be closed for 4 weeks of the season. Our season is typically only 11 weeks long, and that's the only time of the year that we bring in income. We work all year. We pay expenses all year. We do a lot of things to get our farm ready for folks to visit, and then to be at just the height of the peak. I mean, the 4 most profitable weeks of the year, and we could not be open just because folks couldn't get to us. And that's just something that was unimaginable. Hadn't even thought about that before. So this has definitely been a challenging year, testing our faith for sure. But we're trusting the Lord. He's always brought us through, and we're gonna keep trusting that somehow this is all going to be worked for good.
Yep. Well, and he does have a plan. He knows exactly how this is going to turn out, and I'm glad to hear you say that you're going to trust in what he has in store for you for sure. And look, I'm sure that you can look back. Your grandfather, your parents probably had the same attitude. We'll trust in God to get us through this, and he always did, didn't he?
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Now, you talked about some of the different things because, of course, your farm is known for apples, and for many, many years now, you went to Stepp's Hillcrest Orchard to pick apples, but you did diversify. Talk with us about some of those other activities that you have on the farm there that people can come do, because it's not just picking apples now, right?
That's right. I mean, we've still got pumpkins in the patch, so our pumpkin patch will be open. We do pick your own flowers. We're hoping we may have a few more of those. We won't have them this weekend, but we've got another field that if the cold weather stays away for a few more days, we may have a few more flowers this season. But then we have a big corn maze. We have apple cannons where you can shoot apples at targets. We have a big jump pad for kids, and we do wagon rides around the farm. We've got a picnic shed, and it's a huge place. It's 100 acres, and folks are welcome on any part of it. So it's great just to walk or even hike. We've got a lot of elevation change in some of our orchards. And then, of course, our bakery where we're making those apple cider and pumpkin donuts. And we've got the apple cider slushies and hot cider, and just shopping in our apple house. It's good, clean, family fun. Just great place to spend a day.
Yep. Let's go back a few weeks, Danielle. With me today, Danielle Stepp with Stepp's Hillcrest Orchard in Hendersonville, North Carolina. Let's go back to those days leading up to the storm. What type of preparations were you thinking about, or did you have any idea of what it could have been?
I don't think we had any idea. We knew there was going to be a lot of rain. We knew we might have a power outage. I think that's really probably the only things. Wind. We were open the day before the storm, even though there was lots of rain going on that day. Friday morning, obviously, power out at everybody's house. We knew we weren't going to be able to open on Friday. And then getting out into it on Friday, we live about 5 miles from the farm, and so we couldn't even get to the farm. My husband and I could not even get here on Friday. We got later in the day we could, but just to see all the devastation around on our way here was, unbelievable. Yeah,
and I'm sure that you were probably a little anxious just thinking, well, what are we going to find when we get to the farm?
Exactly, yeah. Dad tried to send us a couple of pictures. Text wasn't really working. We'd maybe get a call through, but then it would drop. So, yeah, we just had no idea. We did lose some big hardwood trees. One big tree out front that's where our wagon parks, It's just kind of iconic. We did lose that, so that was a little bit of a punch in the gut. But again, thankfully, very here on the farm.
Yeah. So when you arrived at the farm, I mean, just kind of, you'd said earlier you didn't lose a lot of trees, but did you have a lot of apples that were blown off of the trees?
Definitely some, not as many as I would have expected with the winds I know we had. A few young apple trees down, so those we had to stand back up and resecure, and we were able to do that with most of those. But then again, several hardwood trees. And so some of our teenage boys who work with us on the weekends came over and helped us clean up. I mean, it was about a week of just cleaning up those big trees, but we were thankful for our teenagers who helped us out with that.
Yep. You can get additional information about Stepp's Hillcrest Orchard. It is steppapples.com is their website. Stepp with 2 P's, STEPP apples.com. They have all the information on the activities available there, their hours. And if you would, Danielle, one final time, just tell our listeners the best way to get to you.
Yeah, so the best way to get to us off of Interstate 26 is going to be to take exit 49A, which is the Bat Cave exit, and you're just going to go about 5 miles out 64. That road is clear and two lane all the way. You're going to come to a red light way out Pace Road, and way out 64, and that is Pace Road. So you'll make a right onto Pace Road off of 64, and then we're just 1 mile out Pace Road on the right. There is some gravel, some spots where it's just gravel. So, take your time, and you'll see some of that around here in the mountains where roads have been repaired. So don't fly down the roads because there are some spots where repairs have been made, but it's a clear shot to get to us now.
Yep. Danielle, thank you for your time today. God bless you, and I know that you guys are going to do well.
Thank you so much.
Sure thing. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. On our guest line, Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great, Joey. Hope you're doing good, too.
I am doing wonderful. Thank you. Before we get into some things that we need to talk about today, what a great time we had in Greenwood honoring our veterans. Representative John McCravey, Senator Billy Garrett, Representative Daniel Gibson always do a great job. Had some good barbecue from Fat Daddy's. Saw our next representative from the 3rd District, Sherry Biggs. I mean, it was just a fun evening, wasn't it?
It is always a great evening. It's always special to be able to tell our first responders, our veterans, and this year we added in linemen, right? Because they were kind of the unsung heroes here in the upstate. Just to be able to shake their hand and thank them. And how many sweet retired veterans do we have in Greenwood? Those guys, they made me laugh. Just such good-hearted and. To hear their stories, it's sad to me to think that so many of these amazing heroes are getting so up in years. I don't know how much longer we're going to have them with us to have them retell the stories of their life and what it was like to serve in these world wars.
Yep. Interesting that you say that because I sat there that night looking around the room and one of the gentlemen that sat across from me, I think he's 95. And I was thinking that very thing because I know that there was one gentleman who was there last year who wasn't back with us this year. And we're just slowly losing these heroes and losing their stories. I haven't had a chance to go yet, but the World War II Museum down in New Orleans, they have a new feature there where you can literally ask a question and they will answer it. And what they've done, they've gotten thousands and thousands of hours of video with these men telling their stories so that now through AI, you can ask a question and get an answer from what appears to be a real live human being.
Joey, I went there once, and it was there, I was there for a reception, so I didn't get to, take the time to go through everything. It's very impressive from, kind of the marathon sprint I did around the museum, but that sounds like a road trip for me and you.
Yes.
We can go there. Let's take the show on the road. We can talk we can talk about things there and ask some questions to that AI. I think we've now created a whole new segment on your show.
There you go. We'll have to do that. And I'll tell you, if my buddy Mike Gallagher hears about that, he'll want to tag along too because he's been talking about going there as well. So we'll have to put that together for sure.
All right, and I know their Lieutenant Governor, he's a dear friend, and we'll get Billy out, and he's a great storyteller, and talk about what's happening. And I think I like Mike Gallagher good enough. I think we can bring him on our road trip.
Yeah.
Tell him I said to come on.
All right, we'll invite him as well. Speaking of Greenwood, you were back in Greenwood just a few days later for another County Days event. Give us an update on these events. Talk about what people should do if they weren't able to attend one and they still need help.
So our County Days were a huge success, Joey. We had 7 of them. I was at every single one. Again, I felt like my job was to be there and let the people of South Carolina know that we are here for them. We have these resources for them. And my message was, don't let pride stand in your way. It always seems like the people that need our help the most sometimes are the ones that are too prideful to come out and ask for help. But if you weren't able or you didn't, know that a county day was going on, there are still resources available. It's not like those resources stopped. You can go on to SCEMD's website and they will, kind of walk you through, or you can go on to Office of the Resilience, the South Carolina Office of Resilience. That's kind of like, for lack of a better term, it's kind of like our state version of FEMA. They have resources. They can tie you to everything. Don't feel like you missed out on a benefit that could be available to you.
And I think that needs to be the message loud and clear, because we know there's a lot of people out there who still need help and will need help for a long time to come, unfortunately, because it's just going to take a while to do the cleanup and make the repairs and do all the things necessary. So scemd.org is where you can go, and it's a great website. They have lots of resources there for you. Early voting started this week, and boy, what a turnout we've had so far.
I am so proud of everyone. I mean, Joey, and my message to everybody out there listening to us, and I know you have an audience that stretches far and wide, is this has to be the turnout at every election. It really breaks my heart. And again, talking about our veterans, talking about all the men and women who have fought for our freedom, part of that is the honor to get to cast your vote. And we need to see these kind of numbers on primaries, on non-presidential years. Every vote counts. Every election counts. And, tying elections back into county days, Joey, it broke my heart. I tell you, it's not like I was out there paving roads or cutting down trees for these people, but I came home exhausted hearing the stories, especially of a lot of our seniors. And I've heard it at every county day I was at, that the horrible policies of Biden and Harris that have caused gas prices to go up, grocery store prices to go up, made it harder to make ends meet for these poor people that are on a fixed income. A lot of them, Joey, had to choose between their homeowner's insurance and buying their prescription drugs, and they let their homeowner's insurance go.
Wow. Yep.
And now you have these, 80-year-old couples who are sitting there scared. They have a tree on their house, and they don't know what to do. And it just breaks my heart. And that's why it's important, right? It's important to vote, because when you vote people in that, do not have the American people's best interest at heart, these are the stories. This is the collateral damage of those failed Biden-Harris policies. And they're happening right here. They could be happening to your neighbor.
Yep. So if you haven't voted yet, I'm not sure what you're waiting for, and if you're not quite sure where to vote, just go to scvote.gov. I've told the story many times. I love voting on Election Day, and that's what I've always done. There's just something about I have my routine and all for Election Day, but my listeners have convinced me, Lieutenant Governor, that I need to vote early, and so I am going to be voting early this year.
Well, Joey, I took my mom. She turned 96 on Saturday. She has never missed a vote that she can remember, and she remembers everything. She's like an elephant. But the line was so long in Travelers Rest, I have to try to take her back. Maybe tomorrow. I told her we'll try to go early and see if we can find a good break in the time, because the line was out the door and around the fire station. And she's in great shape, but standing for an hour and a half is not something she wants to do. But that's why it's important to get out, use every resource you have. Anything can happen on Election Day. You can get the flu, you can get sick, you can break your foot. I think that's the message, is that if you wait for one day, anything can happen on one day. Your car could break down. So if you have time to go and cast your vote. That way it's in. And here in South Carolina, we've made it easier to vote and harder to cheat. Have to use your ID, have to prove who you are. So everybody get out there and do your civic duty.
That is for sure. Vote, vote, vote. That is the message for today. Lieutenant Governor Pamela Evette, always a pleasure. Be safe out there. We'll catch up again next week.
Thank you, Joey. Have a great week.
You too. This year, I really thought I was going to have to boycott the holidays. I was going to lock myself away and not come out until 2025. But after finding PhD weight loss, you can bet I'll be at every holiday party I'm invited to. That's because PhD weight loss helped me take control with great confidence, support, and my new healthy body. The best part? PhD weight loss did it all without harmful drugs that keep you dependent on them to maintain your weight loss. It's a natural, medication-free approach to weight loss crafted to naturally diminish food-related thoughts, hunger, and cravings, making your weight loss journey more sustainable and enjoyable. Take it from me, I lost 33 pounds. The PhD Weight Loss Program teaches you not just what to eat and when, but also how to think differently about food and finally let go of those cravings and get rid of the hunger naturally. Don't lock yourself away this holiday season. Call PhD Weight Loss today at 864-644-1900. That's 864-644-1900, or go to myphdweightloss.com. Joining us today, Nate Leupp, chairman of the 4th District Republican Club. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Great. It is a beautiful day in South Carolina right now.
Isn't it, though? I tell you, we've had some wonderful weather for sure as we head to the home stretch for Election Day. We had a great event on Thursday, handed out a lot of Trump yard signs. Wasn't it just a great time to be out there talking with one another, having people come by, pick up their Trump sign, and had a lot of horns blowing going up and down Wade Hampton, too?
Constant horn blowings. It was great, especially when the truck drivers would go by. And almost every truck driver went ahead and let us know they were a Trump supporter.
Yep.
So it was a lot of fun, not only hearing from the people driving by, but hearing those that drove in and picked up signs.
Yep. I think there was one trucker who did not. And we're looking for him now. But it was definitely Truckers for Trump on Thursday for sure. Nate, we're down to the wire now. Talk a little about the role that the 4th District Republican Club plays in turning out the vote, encouraging people to vote, because now that's where we are, isn't it? I mean, we have to make sure Republicans show up at the polls.
If voters and Trump supporters don't actually go put their ballot in the ballot box, all of it's in vain. So we really want people to make sure, especially this year, that they go and early vote. It's something that the Republicans and even President Trump in the past, we've been leery of. Absentee ballot is something that I still let people know, if they can go early vote, that should be your first option. But the system here in South Carolina especially is identical. The early vote is identical to the election day voting. It's something I'm very confident in. So it's something that I plan on partaking in for the first time in a presidential race that I've participated in. But if you don't cast a ballot, if you don't encourage your friends and family, check up on them, make sure that they're voting, don't take anything for granted in this. And Joey, we had a conversation, I believe, yesterday that I believe that this may be one of the first time in decades that the Republicans can take the popular vote. Yeah. And so a lot of red states or ruby red states can still play a huge role in the national election, because I do believe that President Trump is going to be able to come close, if not win, the popular vote for the first time in many, many presidential cycles.
Well, it would be so nice if we could pull that off, because then it just takes the debate away from, the after the fact, the armchair quarterbacking. What if? If we can just win both, then the old too big to rig type thing. Now you mentioned on early voting that it's just like voting on Election Day, and it is. I mean, a lot of people, I think, get confused, Nate, and with me today, Nate Leupp, chairman of the 4th District Republican Club. A lot of people are confusing early voting with some of the shenanigans that we saw in 2020 with, some of the mail-in votes, some of the drop box votes. Early voting, you show up at a polling place, and it's probably not going to be where you typically vote on Election Day, because most counties have different locations. In some counties, there's just one location. That's your county election office. But Greenville, I think, has, 4 locations?
I think we could have upwards of 8. I need to verify that, but Greenville's made it very easy to early vote. Yeah. And there's it's posted on the Election Commission's website. The most popular, if you're in central Greenville, is the old McAllister Square, and that's kind of the headquarters, but there's 6 or 7 other satellite locations.
Yeah. I'm thinking Spartanburg. I know Spartanburg has 4 locations, but just go to scvotes.gov, and you can see exactly where you need to vote depending on what county you're in. But it's just like Election Day, as Nate said. You show up, you have to show your photo ID, and you get the ballot and you vote. And unlike an absentee now. Absentee voting, you have to request the absentee ballot. You have to have a valid reason for requesting it, meaning typically you're out of the country, military service, that type of thing, and then that one is mailed in. But early voting is, I think, very secure, and we're seeing a lot of people take advantage of it. I'll have to tell you, Nate, I'm sort of traditional. I like to vote on Election Day, but this year I'm going to early vote. And, I kind of did a poll among my listeners, and everybody convinced me that I needed early vote, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be voting on Monday to make sure that my vote, bank my vote,
President Trump has asked us to do that. The RNC's asked us to do that. You never know what's going to happen on any one particular day, and it really may come down to a race that's so close that someone who may have an illness in the family or may be ill themselves, that adds up across the United States of America, and 155 million votes that will go out there. You take a small percent, and that may make the difference in this race. So, thinking of 2020 when President Trump got just shy of 75 million votes, small percentage of people that aren't able to go vote for whatever reason that intended to, really makes a difference. So early voting is a great option. I did find there are 7 locations in Greenville County that you can go vote, and it runs all the way through next Saturday, which will be, I think, November the 2nd. And so 8:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday. It's a great option. There are long lines now. I think that'll dissipate a little bit as we go next week, but it's a great option.
Yep. You're having an election night watch party. Talk with us about who can attend. Give us the details.
We have the club, my 4th District Republican Club, has teamed up with our friends at WORD 98.9 for so many good events the last year, 2 debate watch parties that were just unbelievable. And of course, yesterday you came out and helped us with the sign wave and giveaway event where we gave just shy of 300 Trump signs out in a period of a couple hours to passerbys. And we had to limit how many signs we could give out, just 1 free sign per vehicle, just because there were so many people. But this election night party will be at Bimini's. It's by the Clemson Eye off Pelham and near Pelham and Haywood. A lot of the WRD radio personalities will be there. It is slated, we say, between 7 and 9. Of course, I think the party will be going pretty late. And I hope we are going to get an idea about who our next president's going to be, hopefully before we go to bed. There's only a handful of states that really we're looking at to be able to see who the next president is. And I think with the increase of early votes, once those votes come in, I think we'll have a good sampling. Here in South Carolina, the percentage I think is going to be more than we've ever had in the history of our presidential race. So once that early vote is released, I think we'll have a good idea about what the percentage is in South Carolina, but especially looking at Pennsylvania, Michigan, I think it might be one of the tightest, but I think President Trump could pull that out. Wisconsin, that blue wall that Biden and all 5 or 6 of the states in 2020, President Trump won in 2016, and we're going to swing back to President Trump in 2024.
Yep. And again, the election night watch party is going to be fun. It's going to be, you'll be able to interact with a lot of like-minded people, but also just watch President Trump pull this victory off. And as Nate said, Tara will be there, Bill Frady will be there, Charlie James. I'll be broadcasting and reporting in from time to time from the Heritage Foundation Media Center in Washington, D.C. with my buddy Mike Gallagher, but we'll be there with you and giving you reports from our nation's capital. Nate Leupp, it's always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do because you put in a lot of time for the effort of and particularly this year to get President Trump back in the Oval Office, and that does not go unnoticed. Thank you.
Thank you for all your help, Joey.
Sure thing. Nate Leupp, chairman of the 4th District Republican Club, appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
The final New York Times Siena College poll before the election has Donald Trump and Harris in a deadlock, a dead heat, with each receiving 48% of the vote. One demographic that could play a role in the outcome is the young voters. In many cases, those who are voting for their first time in a presidential election. Joining me today, Parker Malphrus, who is 19 and has been involved in Republican Party politics for a number of years. He's currently a student at George Washington University, a political science major. Parker, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be on.
Thank you for a few minutes of your time today. Let's just talk now. What do you say, Parker, to the person who says young people just don't vote?
Well, I tell them all the time, and I've actually heard this a lot and had friends who've asked me this about voting, and I tell them this. I say, look at yourself down the road in, say, 10 years. You're going to be hopefully, starting your life kind of, having a family, hopefully, if that's the path you want to go down. But you're going to be affected by numerous of these policies that are implementing now, right? I mean, we're seeing record high inflation at the moment. We're seeing so much spending done by Congress as of lately. And that all has an effect to not just in the present, which it has a little effect to, but more so an effect down the road. So my I guess answer to people when they ask me that, specifically younger people, is you may not think it's important now that you vote, but you're going to likely regret that and look back 10, 20 years from now going, how am I paying all of this much in taxes, or what am I doing? Why was there so much spent at that time?
Yeah, good point. Let's talk a minute specifically, Parker, about this year's presidential election. Now, this is your first presidential election to vote in, right?
That's correct. It is.
Yep. So as you and your friends at school at George Washington University, as you're sitting around talking in between classes and on the weekends and all, what are some of the things that you talk about as far as deciding who to vote for?
I think the biggest thing is like I briefly mentioned earlier, is the economy, right? I mean, we as college students, traditionally most of us are on the meal plan, but we still need some things from the grocery store. So we'll go to the grocery store. I go about once or twice a month here lately. And when I go, I get the bill and I look at my receipt and I just am amazed, and I look at what I bought and I'm like, where is all the money going? Because this is stuff that 4 years ago, from my remembrance, it was so much cheaper to do. And, I don't actually have a car here because it's typically sophomores, they don't let you have cars here, and parking is very limited in D.C. But, for students that have cars on other campuses, they're looking at the gas prices. And I look at that too. When I go home and drive a car, I look at how much I'm paying to fill up. And so those, I think, are the real issues that they're talking about. And another thing too, I'll add, is crime. A lot of my friends and I talk about a lot is being in the District of Columbia, where unfortunately last year we've encountered that police, under the jurisdiction of the district, the mayor and the police chief, were, basically told to just kind of keep things, in regard to the protest on Israel, just kind of keep things contained to an area rather than actually solving the problem and being allowed to do what police are allowed to do. And so crime is a huge thing as far as safety-wise. I mean, I have family and friends back home that, really care about my safety, and they're, constantly texting and messaging, asking, making sure that we're safe up here. So I think the crime and the economy are two huge issues that will decide this election.
Yeah. So based on that, Parker, when you're talking about crime and when you're talking about the economy, when you're talking about how can we make things more affordable so it doesn't hurt quite so much when you do go to the grocery store, when you're talking to your friends, who do they believe or who do they have more confidence in as far as turning that around, Donald Trump or Kamala Harris?
Well, I would say no. I mean, there's no question to me that the people I hang out with and interact with on the daily have no question that Donald Trump is the man that's going to turn this country around. because we remember 4 years ago, right? And there are a number of people on this campus who, aren't 100% with Trump just on some of the things that he says. But policy-wise, I have not heard many of my friends and people that I interact with giving Harris any kind of, praise for any of this policy, because I personally haven't seen much. I don't really know what much of her policy is. It's a lot of what we've already had. And we know what we have now because it's the Biden-Harris administration. It's not just Biden's administration. She's right there with him as his vice president. So we have to, look at that. So I think looking at that, a lot of people, whether they say it out loud or not, are thinking, okay, Donald Trump is the man that's going to, turn this country back around.
Sure. On our guest line today, Parker Malphrus. He's a 19-year-old student at George Washington University from the upstate of South Carolina. Long time been involved in the Republican Party. A friend of mine, someone that I turn to when I want to know what the youth of our country are thinking. So let's talk a minute, Parker, about Donald Trump. What are some of the things that you and people in your voting demographic like about Donald Trump?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we like about him is he is, really just he's genuine, right? So like the man you see, the things that he says is the man you're going to get. And I think to me that means a lot. He's very honest. He talks about what he did for 4 years ago when he was president. We remember that. That wasn't that long ago. It feels like eternity ago because of the disastrous administration we have now. But we remember that. So I think that, to me, a lot of people, that excites a lot of people about Donald Trump, alone. But I think, too, is I've seen so many people at his rallies. I haven't gotten the chance to attend a rally. I hope to in the future, because I think that'd be a really cool thing. But I see so many young people that are just so energized, like waiting in line at like 6 a.m. in the morning, and the rally's at like 8 o'clock at night, right? And so there's just so much excitement and enthusiasm behind the Trump movement, right? And with his vice president, and that's really exciting to me. Having this young guy who is, grew up in the middle class, a veteran, who's, pretty much brand new to the United States Senate 2 years ago, or 4 years ago, I believe it was 2 or 4 years ago. I don't remember exactly. I think it was 2. But he's such a great leader and a great role model to the younger people, proving that, you can do whatever you set your mind to. And, I think between J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, their personalities, their policies, I think that's just so exciting to this voting demographic of our age.
Yeah, and that's exciting for me to hear as well, because you guys are the future of the party, and that's not just a cliche. I mean that's a fact, and so that's exciting for me to hear that you, first of all, that you want to be involved, but secondly that you have that confidence in Donald Trump, and that you want to see our country take a more conservative approach, less government, less spending, and try to get our economy back to where it needs to be. All right, one final question for you. Parker Malphrus with me today. As far as voting now, are you coming home to vote, or did you request an absentee ballot? How do people who live in another area outside of D.C., how do you typically vote?
Well, I hate to say this, but unfortunately I had to request an absentee. But it is a great way to vote, specifically in South Carolina, because it is very safe. I can track my ballot. I know it's already been received, so I'm very happy about that. But the best way, I think, that many people that are around here is voting absentee. A lot of people do that. We do have Election Day as a holiday for our school, so we will not have classes that day, which is very nice. But the many people in Maryland and Virginia, and maybe even, surrounding more states that are closer, they can go back. But to me, it just, there wasn't enough time to be able to come back, and early voting didn't start when that was on my fall break. Yeah. But, just really blessed to have the opportunity to be able to vote, regardless of whether it's absentee or in person. And just really, we are blessed as a nation.
Yep. Absolutely. Parker, always a pleasure. Appreciate what you do. I'm proud of you, and look forward to talking with you again. We'll talk maybe afterwards when we're celebrating a Donald Trump victory. How's that?
That sounds wonderful. Thank you so much.
Sure thing. That's it for this special weekend edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.